Welcome back to College Football Addiction. Coach Coop, one of your favorites, back here to talk Miami, Florida State. It's kind of weird doing this, Coop, because I do try to be really, really unbiased on the national channel. I think I let a little more of the homerism come out on the FSU channel. So I don't know. This might be a blend of that just because I didn't grab a Florida State person to talk about this because I've talked about this game a ton myself anyway. So this will be pretty Miami perspective on it, but you know, I won't give you near as hard of a time as you give me when we record yours next up. But,
I mean, you're more than welcome to, as are the viewers. If they're Florida State fans in the comments, please. It's Florida State week. Let's have some fun.
I'll read you a little bit here, but Miami coming off the bye week, relatively healthy. I know there's some talk about Trader. What about Lyle? Like, where are they at from an injury standpoint?
Well, the interesting thing is when it comes to Mario Cristobal, us Miami fans always kind of laugh when it comes to discussing the injuries because we have heard that Jordan Lyle and JoJo Trader were going to be back weeks ago. And obviously, you know, we still haven't seen these guys suit up in a game. Now, I've been telling people I would not hold your breath. As far as I know, they should be healthy and ready to go. I also don't know if maybe in some ways you don't want to disrupt the flow of things, I guess. I mean, Jordan Lyle is a really solid back. You saw him come out, with the on the first drives, the first possession against Notre Dame, and they were going to be running back by committee, him and Fletcher. But now Brown has kind of come in and done his thing. He's played really well. So I don't know if maybe there's some issues there with just integrating them back in. You don't want to kind of mess with the flow of things. But from everything I've heard, they should be back, off of the bye week. Everybody else is looking healthy. Everybody should be ready to rock.
What's your concern level? And sometimes I think this can be overblown. I remember last year, we could find some common ground in this. I remember last year, Florida fans thought the only reason they were going to win that game to open the season was because they were playing in the Swamp. And listen, I've been to the Swamp. I was at their largest sellout of all time when Florida State played there in 2015. It was a ranked on ranked matchup. I've heard that place be absurdly loud. But if your only hope is that the other team is going to just pee down their pants when they hear a crowd like they've never heard a loud crowd before. And listen, I'll even put the Swamp up there. It's one of the 2 or 3 loudest places I've ever been. I've been to Tuscaloosa. I've been to Death Valley. I've been to Clemson. Obviously, a bunch of FSU games. I've been to games down at Hard Rock. I've been all over. It's up there. But listen, there's not that big a difference between 85,000 and 95. It just isn't, right? But all that said, I'm not putting all my hopes and dreams on that. But first time Miami's traveled away from Hard Rock this year, and it is going to be in a very intense environment that caused Alabama some issues. There were several false starts and delay of games and things that the crowd seemed to have an impact. Just thoughts on Miami handling that? Maybe not the fastest start coming that they've had in other games, or just what are your thoughts there?
Yeah, I do think it's something that you have to be a little concerned about. As you said, it's crazy to think this is the first away game for the Canes. Yeah. And, thankfully we have a veteran quarterback that we can lean on. It's not like Carson Beck has not played in these big time environments like this. But you're not wrong. I'm sure that it's going to be loud and rowdy. I'm going to be there in person. Yeah. So I'm pretty excited about that first time at Doak Campbell Stadium. But I think you would worry a little bit about maybe some pre-snap penalties for Miami, which is going to be kind of a key to winning the game for the Canes in this one, because that's been a bit of a sore spot. And, with it being at Doak Campbell Stadium, getting kind of loud, you can only imitate that so much at practice. They can blare it through the speakers all they want, but it's totally different when you're actually there. So it is something, as you said, that alone is not going to win Florida State the game. But I do think that it could be a factor, and it's slightly concerning for sure.
We're trying to get Coop. I'm talking with his publicist now. We're trying to get Coop to come by the tailgate and try some of that Guthrie's chicken on Saturday. So you guys,
I've never had it. I'm down. Totally down.
We'll have fun out there. And I'll tell you this too. It is very family friendly. There were probably 20 Alabama fans at the tailgate for the first week. So we are pretty family friendly.
So I most likely won't be assaulted.
You most likely not. Okay. If it happens, it'll be from me, and you probably can take me, so you'll be good. Oh, cool. But we are doing that. I'll put a link in the description if anybody wants to come by. We'll have a bunch of drinks and food, and people are more than welcome to come hang out. And we keep it pretty lighthearted and pretty fun. We'll all cheer for Texas together as they beat the hell out of Florida before we go inside. This game to me comes down to the trenches, and really not even like who wins that matchup. Miami has such an advantage here, and I'm not even really super low on Florida State's trenches. They're much improved from where they were last year, but I would take Miami's offense and defensive line against maybe anyone else's, like both sides of the line of scrimmage. I might like other defensive lines a little better. I might like other interior offensive lines, but like when you look at both units, I'd probably take that pair of Miami's O-line and Miami's defensive line over anybody else in the country. And to me, the question is not, I'll get right back to the video, but first I do want to give some love to our friends over at Sleeper. You should be making money with us on the Sleeper app this college football season. There's a ton of things you can do on there, from eliminator leagues to pick'ems in the NFL to just checking the scores of the game. It's the best interface that I've seen for just keeping updated with what's going on in the world of sports, and certainly in the world of college football. What you, though, need to be doing is playing the more or less game with us every single Wednesday on the Power 2, where we give you our picks, more or less, on 2 or more players. You can win up to 1,000 times your money. Check Sleeper's terms of use, because terms and conditions do apply, and use our code CFA for a 100% match up to $100. We appreciate Sleeper for their support. Download their app right now. How well can Florida State go head to head with them? Because I don't think they can, right? And that's not even, again, a shot at Florida State. I think it's how well can Tony White and Gus Malzahn scheme around it, and how well can the coordinators put guys in positions to, whether it's chip and bane or whether it's all the pre-snap motion that Florida State does to kind of get them off balance, or if it's bringing down a heavier box. That's kind of the game within the game here, because I don't think, again, many teams could do it, but I certainly don't think Florida State can just line up and say, yeah, we're going to bully Miami's trenches here. That seems pretty far-fetched.
Yeah, and I mean, I hate to say this, but I'm a Gus Malzahn fan. I feel like that's a perfect fit with him and Thomas Castellanos. And, you know, the creativity you can see from Gus at times. I feel like going into this game, Miami has to be ready for the tight end running the ball, the tight end passing the ball, jet sweeps, design runs for Thomas Castellanos, Wildcat. Like, there's so many things that I feel like he's willing to dial up and throw at you, that it's really tough to prepare to go up against Florida State's offense. So that's something it's going to be fun to watch, but definitely a little bit, concerning for me. Because as you said, I mean, up front, let's just be honest. It doesn't matter what team you're a fan of. I mean, Miami is dominant up front on both sides of the ball. So as you said, I'm super confident that worst case scenario for Miami, offensively, they can run the ball. Defensively, I feel like Bain and Mesidor, like, we're going to get pressure on Castellanos. But yeah, you're right. Scheming and stuff is going to be very important, and we're going to see who outcoaches the other side.
Yeah. I wonder a little bit, I'm sure you've rewatched or maybe seen highlights of how Florida State really struggled to stop Virginia's run. And I don't know if it's a cockiness or just a straight confidence of like, hey, our guys are just going to figure it out and be able to win one-on-one battles. But Florida State's defense didn't adjust the way I thought they should have. I wish they would have, because obviously I would have wanted that result to go differently than it did. But I do think they do that this week. And this is, listen, I don't know what Tony White's going to do. I don't know how Shannon Dawson responds to it. But it would not surprise me if Florida State said, we are not going to let them run the ball for 5 and 6 yards a carry, and we're going to make Beck beat us. And if he beats you at the end of the day, then tip your cap to him and say, hey man, good game. Florida State's offense will have a chance to respond, right? We just talked about how good Gus has been. But if I'm Florida State, if I'm coaching this game, right, which I'm not, I'm a idiot with a microphone and not a coach that gets millions of dollars to play.
Me too.
I'm not letting Miami run the ball. I'm going to try and limit that. I'm not saying anybody can stop them, but I'm saying no. Beck's going to beat us on the road, and we're not going to. We gave up 225 to Virginia. Miami ain't going for 200, because if they do, man, the game is. I mean, there's not even a point of playing it. If you tell me right now that Miami goes for over 200 yards rushing, they're going to win the game. And so, to me, if you're Florida State, you got to say, dude, if Beck beats us, then Beck beats us.
And that's the thing. That's what Miami has been doing this season. They run the ball. They own the time of possession. And it's very demoralizing for the opponent, because if you get down, how are you going to climb back into the game if your offense isn't on the field? So that's something that Miami has done successfully all season. And the thing is our opponents have known that, and yet they still can't stop it. So we'll see. That'll be very interesting. I've read some reports of Florida State putting an emphasis on that, as you said, stopping the run. But then even if they do, as Canes fans, I would say Carson Beck, statistically speaking, to be fair, had his worst game against Florida when you look at the numbers. Still not terrible, but not great. But I feel like that looking at some of the tape from the Virginia game versus you guys, even if you are able to slow that run down, I think that those intermediate throws are going to be there. I think it's going to be hard to cover a guy like Malachi Toney. So I think that we feel pretty, not to sound cocky. I realized last time I was on your channel, I came across as a little cocky. I think we were talking about the
you
Florida
had
game.
more reason to then.
But I felt good, right?
Yeah,
I felt really
sure.
good. And I just, this Florida State game for me, it's not that it's a bigger challenge, so to say, but it's a very unique challenge to tackle, I feel like, for Miami, because there's so many different things that Florida State can do in this game that Miami hasn't seen yet from any opponent on the schedule.
Yeah. When I think about that, I think about two things. I think about, Florida State has been Virginia game front seven, not very good. But for the most of the year, they've been pretty solid, and they were really solid against Alabama. But I don't know that they've seen trenches like this. But conversely, I don't know that, you think about who Miami has played. I don't know that Miami's seen an offense like this, or statistically right now, Florida State has the number one offense, both in yards per game and points per game. I know there's a couple of cupcakes in there, but Miami, you got a broken DJ Lagway that you saw. You got CJ Carr in his first game ever, and he started to figure it out as the game went on. And then I live in Tampa. I like USF. I'd like for them to be really good. But you're playing a group of 6 team, what more do the results of that didn't surprise me at all, especially with the way that they played against Florida the last week. So I do think that that's fair, and I wonder, I think Miami's defense will be the best the best. It's hard to know, man, if Alabama was just sleepwalking through that game, or that's what's really difficult is did they really just catch Alabama on the worst day of all time? Or did they do things really, really effectively that could maybe limit Miami's offense, that could maybe give them success against Miami's defense? I don't know. But
and that's
why
weird
this
for
is
both
such a
of
big
us,
question
right?
mark to me.
That's what's weird for both of us, because you guys played Alabama week 1. And again, both teams are trying to figure everything out, right, in that first game. And then same for Miami, arguably their best opponent that they would have played, even if you want to look at the record. I know Notre Dame also lost to Texas A&M. That was a close one in overtime. That's still probably the best team Miami has played overall at this point in the season. Florida has a decent defense, but their offense sucks. They have Billy Napier, terrible head coach. So, you guys beat Bama. Was it a big-time win? Was it not? Those guys just knocked off Georgia. We beat Notre Dame. Was it a big win? Was it not? This game right here is one of the – I'm just so excited about this game. It's going to be such a fun matchup to watch between the two of us.
You've mentioned let's talk defense a little bit. Miami's defense has been really good, but again, like I just mentioned, Lagway was broken coming into that game, and their offense just – gosh, it looked like last year's FSU offense, if we're being honest. Like it was that bad.
You said that, not me.
Dude, it was worse. We doubled their score. They scored 7 points on a scripted second half drive. They were pathetic, man. They what did they go for, like less than 100 yards, if not for that one drive?
Yeah, at halftime it was like 35. It was bad.
Absolutely pathetic. And one thing I thought Mario did in that game, and really Miami should have been up 20-0 if not for that early whistle on that long run, and that would have changed things. But one thing I thought Mario did both last year against Florida State and against Florida this year is he just said, man, we're not taking any risks. This team will implode on itself. Like Florida will implode. I think he knew last year Florida State would never be able to move the ball consistently. Miami didn't even have a good defense last year, and Florida State still couldn't move the ball. And so I think the way Mario coached those games was, would he have liked to win by 30 in both of them? Absolutely, right? It's good for recruiting. It's good for morale, all those things. I think he also just said, we ain't taking no risks in this. The other team will implode, and we'll just let them do it. I think he has to coach this one differently. I do think Florida State's capable enough not to be favored, not to be the team that should win, not to be the higher ranked team, but they're capable enough to where I think Mario will have to, go for it a little bit more. Not necessarily on a fourth like that, but like not just wait for the other team to implode on itself.
No, I think you're right. And because, again, this is going to be, in my opinion, the best team that Miami has played up to this point. And, you can play it safe and you can pound the rock, and that's A-OK if you're up. But if Florida State comes out there and, Castellanos is a big play QB. If you guys are getting some explosive plays and then all of a sudden you find yourselves up even just by maybe a 3 or 7 and it's at Doak Campbell Stadium, you're right. Miami is going to find themselves in a situation where they do have to take some chances in this game, and they've not really done that much up to this point. You're 100% right.
Yeah, impressive. Miami hasn't trailed yet this season.
Yeah.
And, if they get out to an early lead of 10-0 or 17-10 or just whatever,
they may not trail the freaking football.
Yeah, they may not trail in this one. But I do wonder, and maybe not, maybe in this game, maybe not in this game, but I do wonder once Miami is finally faced with some adversity, because if we're being honest, I know Notre Dame tied it up. I know that Florida had the one nice drive. I don't really know that they've faced adversity yet, playing everything at home. I do wonder how they respond, right? And that's something we saw last year's team. Miami's team last year responded incredibly to adversity, right? They did a great job being down on the road on the West Coast at Cal, losing to Virginia Tech, and fighting back several times when you kind of thought, oh, here they go again. I thought that they responded well. You just wonder how a new group does that this year, whether that's in Doak with a trickster as your offensive coordinator, or if that's later on in the year when they play Louisville at home or just whomever. I'm going to ask both sides of this, but what are you most confident in Miami? I know we've talked about the trenches. I know we talked about Beck. I know we talked about Tony. What are you most confident in? And maybe I'll take away the trenches because I've laid that on a silver platter. What would be maybe the second thing you're most confident in Miami in this matchup?
I think for me, if we take away trenches, I still
that answer's just too easy.
Right, it is. I mean, to be fair, it is. I think for Miami, though, if I could pinpoint a specific player, it's still going to be Carson Beck. And I saw a lot of people taking the dump on him after the Florida game, but again, he did enough to get it done. And I think having a veteran like that going into Doak Campbell Stadium will be huge. And again, if we talk about, like you said, even if Florida State sells out on stopping the run, it's going to come down to Carson Beck actually making some of those throws. And he looked a little off against Florida. We're coming off of a bye week. He's had extra time to prepare. So I actually do feel very confident in Carson Beck. I think that he bounces back, and I think that he has a really big game against you guys.
What worries you the most? What's the thing in this game, whether it's a matchup or something outside of the game, or just what worries you the most in this game? The thing you're maybe least confident in?
I'll say two things. I can point at a player first off. The 6'6" mismatch contested catch machine, Deuce Robinson. Who's going to cover that guy, right? He's probably going to come out there and make some plays. And I know I'm kind of doubling down on something we talked about earlier, but I think Florida State comes out and really tries to get up early. I think that they're taking shots in the first quarter. I think that they're trying to build a bit of a lead. They know Miami's game plan, and I don't think that Miami's necessarily going to try to get away from that early unless their hand is forced as far as running the football. So if Florida State does get up, Miami faces some adversity. Random numbers I'm throwing out here. It's 13-3 at halftime. How does Miami respond? Can they come out and actually make some big plays? Do they look down the field more often? That would be pretty concerning for me in a hostile environment.
Coop, what do you have coming? I'm not wrapping up yet. I will, of course, let you do a score. But what do you have coming this week? Have you done a diss track? I know that you've had some personal stuff going on this week too.
Hey, but, look, the diss tracks are on a 3-year win streak, and I did them the first game of each season. I'm not a superstitious guy, but I'm not dropping another one for the rest of the year. Okay.
I'm going to do an AI one. I'm going to do an AI one of you just to jinx it the other way.
There you go. Cool. No, so I'm staying away from those, but I do have my preview video dropping depending on when people are watching this video the same day or the day after. It's going to be on Wednesday or Thursday. I do intro skits, like funny intro skits for each preview video. And I did a reenactment of your average everyday Florida State fan. So I feel like the Florida State viewers will love that. And then I also have my $600 score prediction contest call-in show happening on Thursday. I'm leaving for Tallahassee but early on Friday morning. So we usually do it the night before. I'm going to do it on Thursday night around 8 or 9 p.m. Eastern time. Literally anybody can call in. Florida State fans, Bama fans, it doesn't matter who you root for. And if you get the score right for this game, you win $600.
I'll have you predicted. I'll tell you what I've got in this. I think if this game is played 10 times, Miami wins at least 7 of them. I do think that if you line up this Miami team is better, completely unbiased. I think they're more talented. There are more paths to victory for Miami in this game. But I'm going to ride with the home team. I'm going to say 31-28. It's shades of 2021. Florida State gets out to a lead and finds a way to hold on, kind of like they did against Alabama. So I will go full homer with the actual prediction, but hopefully through the first 20 minutes of this thing, I have laid off the homer train somewhat. But I will take the Noles to win. I think they'll find some magic in Doak. I think Miami going on the road for the first time, having to face some adversity, will bite them in the butt. And maybe we'll get a rematch in Charlotte, and we'll have you back on for that. So what you got for us?
That's fair. Now, for a second there, I thought you were going to do the whole like reverse psychology, reverse jinx thing. I pull for Miami. You
know what I learned? I try to do that, and it doesn't work out for me. So I'm just like, you know what? Whatever.
None of that stuff is real, man. I'm not superstitious. I don't believe in jinxes. I will carry a black cat under a ladder and kick a mirror when I get to the end of it. It doesn't matter to me, right? With that being said, I got the Miami Hurricanes on top, 31-24, a 7-point victory, because I do believe that Florida State makes this game competitive. And I understand that Miami is a 4.5-point favorite. It's fluctuated between 4.5 to 6.5. But I've got it a one-score game, and I do think the Canes roll, get a W at Doak.
Coop, where can people follow you? Where can they find your content?
Type in Coach Coop on YouTube. You'll see a guy with a hat that's way too big for his head and wears safety glasses. Apparently, those are the most recent comments I've seen. We just have a good time. We welcome everybody. We call it one big happy college football family. We trash talk a little bit, but we shake hands at the end of the day. We just have a good old time.
If you guys enjoy, I know some of you guys enjoy giving me a hard time. If you enjoy seeing other people give me a hard time too, I'm going on Coop's channel this week as well. So make sure that you go subscribe. Listen, since you were talking about the comments, this has nothing to do with the show at this point, but I'm going to tell you anyway. If people are still tuned in, they'll like this. I've been on some medication recently, just that kind of dries my lips out a little bit. Mm-hmm. And so I carry around like chapstick with me all the time. Like I am just like a chapstick fiend. And, but I wipe it off. Like I've got 7 paper towels, like sitting here, like ready to wipe it off. I didn't wipe it off the other day. And my lips look like I was like on a runway, like one of these really pretty girls. So it's all over. Somebody's like, dude, are you wearing lipstick?
Yeah, they noticed.
They noticed everything. They're like, dude, are you wearing? And I was like, oh gosh, I forgot to wipe it off, because anyway. So yeah.
They'll point out. Yeah, was that a booger in your nose? The entire video. Yeah.
The comments are ruthless. Yeah. So if you want to see somebody else give me a hard time, go subscribe to Coop's channel and check out the Inside Insight this week. Coop, I appreciate you, man. We always have a good time, whether it's rivalry week or not. Thanks for hanging out.
Anytime. Go Canes.